I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
That is your weekend forecast. Clear and cool tonight with a low temp dipping to 59. Tomorrow, perfect. Sunshine all day with low humidity and a high of 83 for Sunday. A bit more humidity to go with a mix of sun and clouds and a high temp of 83. There's a 30% chance of afternoon showers. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Answering the call. Running in when everything you feel says run out. Pushing yourself beyond your known limits to help. Living to tell the story. Visit scvolunteerfire.org.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, you will not be hearing from Phil Kornbluth tonight. It is Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, so you will not get the comfort of having Phil Kornbluth here with you on a Founders Federal Football Friday and that familiar voice, but you will have me, Smitty, with you, and I hope you remembered me from previous shows and are glad to be back with us. It's going to be a tightly wound show. If you miss Corn, don't worry, because the guests will be the star tonight. Also here in studio with us, we have got Pat Daniel, who will be at Clemson, Florida Atlantic tomorrow, and we've got intern Josh in the house, who is terribly biased. And I'm gonna open the show, Pat, with a hot take. I'm gonna give you a hot take, and we'll see if Josh encourages it or comes out of his seat and chokes me. The first time we meet in person.
Can't wait.
All right. First of all, I'll tell you, tonight's show, regular Founders Football, Federal Football Friday lineup. We've got David Shelton coming on to break down the high school action around the Palmetto State. That's coming up in about 10 minutes. Also tonight, we have the football filibuster with Attorney General Alan Wilson and Governor Jim Hodges. 7:05, Sterling Picks with Lee Sterling. You're going to get some amateur picks, but you'll get the pros side of things in terms of college football sports betting with Lee Sterling. In the fast lane with Jeff Owens, we'll talk NASCAR, and then we close it out with birdies, bogeys, and biceps presented by Tsunami Bar Sports. That features George Bryan. We'll talk a little golf. But before we get there, my hot take, Pat, because you and I talked Georgia, South Carolina, Clemson, Florida Atlantic before the show, and that's going to highlight the show. But I see intern Josh is terribly biased, so I'm going to tell him my hot take. Red hot take for tonight. Gators upset Vols in the Swamp.
Ooh, that is a hot take.
Everything about me before. Okay, let me tell you where it comes from. Because sometimes you have to bet against yourself, right? And
sure.
Before the season began, in my mind, I had Tennessee set up as a juggernaut. I thought Joe Milton might electrify that offense. With the combination of Josh Heupel's play calling, the up-tempo offense, and then Joe Milton's arm strength. He's always been a little scatter-on, which is why he's not at Michigan anymore, frankly. Always been a little scatter-on. And I thought, you know what? And he just beat Clemson last year in a bowl game in the Orange Bowl. Mm-hmm. Big-time potential for Joe Milton. Has all the tools, like Anthony Richardson at Florida a season ago. But like Anthony Richardson, he can throw the football 75, 80 yards, but often to no one in particular. I think Florida, embarrassed by the loss at Utah to open the season, has circled the wagons. You'll see Billy Napier. He's got a bad haircut, but a great game plan. That's what I think happens tomorrow in the Swamp. So I don't know, Josh, give me thumbs up, thumbs down. He's thumbs up. Okay, he's okay with it. Where are you on that, Pat? Where are you on that game? And those because those teams are not the teams that everyone is talking about because we're waiting to see what Georgia has tomorrow against South Carolina. We're waiting on Cameron Beck and other, high teams. We want to see how Alabama rebounds. Everybody wants to see if Florida State can keep it rolling. Everyone wants to see if Clemson is, is wilting, or if they're going to bounce back and really challenge Florida State for the ACC. So what do you think? Florida, Tennessee, almost an under the radar for a big matchup.
Gator fans, and Josh, sorry, you're not going to like this. I think Tennessee's out for blood. Tennessee has only beaten Florida twice since 2005, and both of those were in Knoxville. They have not won in Gainesville since 2003. Long time ago, 20 years ago. And I think on the 20th anniversary, that almost to the day, that was on September 20th, 2003. I think they are not only out for revenge, but I think they are out to try to potentially get a coach on the hot seat, if not fired. And I know that's probably too much, but I've already have a few very close friends who are diehard Florida fans, and they already they're struggling to find positives with Billy Napier and the Billy Napier era down in Gainesville. Now, again, that may be overly critical. I hope he's there forever. I don't want to see anybody ever lose their job, especially not this. You're barely into your second year. Well, this will be the third game of their second season.
Yep.
But Tennessee so far this year, they've played, Virginia and Austin Peay, and they really haven't shown a whole lot. We have not seen the quote-unquote passing game pyrotechnics of last year. I think that's on purpose. I think they've purposely been playing possum these first two games of the year, trying not to show too much to the Gators. And they're going to unleash that fury tomorrow down in Gainesville. I do not see this game particularly close.
All right, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. As I said, Corn's off tonight. It is Rosh Hashanah, but of course we'll sprinkle in some of his opinions as best we can as time goes on. But hey, I'm here with you, Smitty. I'll be guiding you through tonight and all the guests, the great guests that we have. And Pat Daniel, already on record with a disrespectful take, just slapped me in the face. I'm telling you, I'm going for the upset. And here's the other thing. I will not be picking South Carolina over Georgia. What I am picking there is Spencer Rattler will not take the last snap for South Carolina tomorrow in Athens. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be hurt, but they may have to pull him to protect him. That's what I think.
Oh, my gosh.
They may have to pull him to protect him.
You think that offensive line is that bad?
I think it's that bad. Here's what I think about South Carolina's offensive line. There, and this is a bit of a, I don't know. This is a reactionary. Okay, I'll admit this is reactionary to what I've seen. 23 tackles for loss is what South Carolina has surrendered through 2 weeks. One of those games was against Furman, so that's an FCS opponent and North Carolina, who had one of the worst defenses in the ACC a season ago. That's what happened through 2 weeks for South Carolina. And here's what I think about offensive line play. And look, this is I'll say the Florida pick, that can be a little flimsy, and you can push back on me. That's a bit of a gut feeling. This one is backed up. I've already talked to two former offensive line coaches, and they agreed with this particular take. South Carolina's offensive line issues are not a one-year fix. They're a 2-year problem.
That's fair.
In other words, this offensive line may get better as the season progresses, but it will not get demonstrably better. So you give them like help with tight ends and H-backs, draws, screens, but now you're already playing with one hand behind your back. And Georgia only has 1 sack on the season. How long do you think, you talk about playing possum, how long do you think Kirby Smart will let that lie? He'll bring linebackers to make sure he gets hits on Rattler. So those are the two takes I'm opening with. We'll get to Clemson, Florida Atlantic, but the two takes, 888-898-2525, that is our phone line. You can jump on if you want, agree, disagree, back or fade. But my two hot takes, I suppose, are South Carolina has to protect Rattler tomorrow, and they may have to leave 2 tight ends in. They may have to bring 2 backs in or pull them out of the game. One of those things will be happening. The other one is Tennessee's going to get all they want from Florida in the Swamp. You had a good stat, though. They haven't won at the Swamp. Florida hasn't beaten Tennessee in the Swamp in 20 years.
That's right. 20 years on the dot, but that's where I think that changes this year. Now, to go back to this South Carolina-Georgia game real quick, I'm with you. I don't think there's any quick fix to that offensive line, but Phil has said this multiple times throughout the week. We've had a number of guests throughout the week, especially Chuck Reedy and Ellis Johnson both alluded to what they thought it might take for the Gamecocks to keep it close. Neither were willing to say they think the Gamecocks will win, but in order to at least keep the game respectable, keep it close, they expect a lot of very quick outs, quick down passes, use those running backs, tight ends to your advantage, a lot of very quick check downs to the running back, maybe just a little hedge block and then the dump down. That's what they're going to have to do to then try to open up the downfield aerial attack. But the Gamecocks, 106 yards rushing in 2 games on the year. Not great.
The running backs, the traditional running game, forget the sacks.
Right.
Take the sacks out, which have also been an issue.
Sure.
Forget the sacks. South Carolina, when Spencer Rattler takes the snap and hands the football off to a running back, it's 2.1 yards per carry through 2 games.
Not great. But I will tell you, last night we were talking off air before the show. Laugh at me if you won't, but what actually made me going from wanting to take Georgia and the points to now taking the Gamecocks and the points. Now, I do not think the Gamecocks win the game, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think, mainly because of the Minnesota Viking-Philadelphia Eagles game last night. Again, I was taking from that all week long. I was thinking the Gamecocks are too one-dimensional. There's no way that Muschamp-led defense is going to allow that to work. He's going to go out and have a game plan of shutting down the pass or minimizing the pass, and he is going to force he's going to sit back in a lot of zones. He's going to force the running game to win, to beat them, and he does not trust that running game to give them any threat whatsoever. But last night, the Vikings had 28 yards rushing the entire game, and that final score was 34-28. The Eagles got off to a big lead. Kirk Cousins then played out of his mind, threw for 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did lose a fumble. The Vikings had 3 turnovers, but all fumbles. But they stayed in the game as a one-dimensional team. And I think we may see a similar thing happen Saturday down in Athens, where Georgia gets out to a decent-sized lead. Then they kind of sit back on their heels a little bit. Rattler then just starts an aerial attack, throwing it all across the field, and then he kind of sneakily covers. Now, I'm not thinking that it'll be, again, I don't think they'll win the game, but I'm thinking maybe somewhere along the lines of 34-24, 31-21, something in that 10-point range, so to speak. But I took a lot from that game last night, and I think we may see a similar result on Saturday.
All right, we've got to take our first break. When we come back, David Shelton is going to join us from the Charleston Post and Courier, South Carolina Sports Report. We'll talk high school football. We're 10 minutes in here on a Founders Federal Football Friday. You've already heard Pat disrespect me and overreact to a Thursday night football game. More of that kind of chicanery is on the way tonight. We'll continue to talk football, and we'll make our picks. South Carolina, Georgia, Florida Atlantic, Clemson. What's going on with Duquesne, Coastal, Furman, Kennesaw State, PC Wofford, William and Mary, Charleston Southern, Emory and Henry and Newberry, the Citadel at UT Chattanooga, and more. High school football is on deck. David Shelton joins us when we come back. You're listening to the Sports Talk Media Network.
Farm Bureau Insurance's agricultural roots and ties to South Carolina farmers have shaped the company's culture and work ethic, providing a unique customer experience. Customers are treated like people, not policies. Now, while other insurance companies may have a one-size-fits-all approach to handling customers, we believe you need to be valued and treated right. Our claims professionals work until the job is done, and our agents still believe in the commitments that comes with a handshake. Call Buddy Bridges in Clinton and Lawrence at 864-923-2174 for all of your auto, home, and life insurance needs.
Football season is upon us, and that means Columbia is welcoming fans from around the corner and across the country. No matter where you're from, Gamecocks love coming together for game day energy that can only be found in South Carolina's capital city. Book hotel rooms, find pre- and post-game activities, and plan your tailgate spread with local favorites from pimento cheese to barbecue at ExperienceColumbiaSC.com. We'll see you soon, and go Gamecocks!
This year's Carolina and Clemson Jackpot $5 scratch-off tickets give you a chance to win up to $200,000, whether you're a Gamecock or a Tiger. It's Palmetto Series time, so show your school spirit, feel that team pride, and get your tickets for a chance to win up to $200,000. As you know, in this state, winning the Palmetto Series does matter that much. See SCEducationLottery.com for odds and details.
Dumpster Plus is your solution to a more cost-effective and professional work site. Dumpster Plus provides a roll-off dumpster and porta-john in one. Give them a call at 803-500-5094 and ask them about 2 services for the price of one. It's 1 call, 1 delivery, 2 services. Locally owned and operated in Columbia, and that means you'll talk to a real live local person, ready to get what you need with a 24-hour turnaround guaranteed. Whether your worksite is residential or commercial, big or small, near or far, you'll save money with Dumpster Plus. Waste management solutions never look so good. Call Dumpster Plus at 803-500-5094. That's 803-500-5094 for Dumpster Plus.
Yeah, a little fight song on the way back in tonight here on a Founders Federal Football Friday, the Sports Talk Media Network. Smitty sitting in for Corn, who is celebrating Rosh Hashanah with his family this weekend. So it's the same combo you're about to get. You'll get tonight on the high school scoreboard. I will be tossing it up, and then David Shelton will be knocking the answers out of the park. David, of course, joining us now. We'll talk about the high school slate. David, welcome.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great. And David, I'm gonna guess, since you schedule yourself, you made it. You're gonna be at Sumter Somerville tonight.
You got it. Just got to the press box.
Good.
Just now got to the press box.
Well, you know what? We'll start there. I mean, let me run through a couple of games and then we'll circle back real fast. So Sumter at Somerville, Chapman at Clinton tonight, Northwestern at Gaffney. Gaffney good on the early return. South Florence at South Point, Greenwood at T.L. Hanna. AC Florida is at Camden. Gray Collegiate at St. John's of Washington, D.C. Lexington at Gilbert. Irmo, who has been on fire, is at Hartsville, and Hammond at Wilson Hall. So let's get to your game first, David. Sumter at Somerville. I've heard nothing but good things. This dates to the preseason for the Green Wave, and now you'll get to see it.
Yeah, and I saw them earlier this year, and they got a lot of weapons offensively. They can run it, they can throw it. They can throw it to Yannick Smith, or they could throw it to Pickle Petterford. They got 4 receivers, 2 really good running backs, a really good quarterback. But this will be a test for them. They have not seen a defense, relative to what Sumter's going to bring tonight on the defensive side.
Yeah, and Sumter's coming off a loss to Crestwood. What are you hearing about them offensively? Because Sumter, as expected, the 11 on defense, they're bringing it. But what about Sumter offensively? Do they have enough firepower?
Yeah, I think they do. They like to run the football, and Jonathan Peoples is a really good junior running back, one of the better ones in the state. So if Sumter has their way, they will be able to run the football, keep Somerville's offense on the sidelines, and then you got to score. If you have an 85-yard, 12-play drive, but you don't get 6 out of it, then you're kind of burning yourself against a team like Somerville. They scored 62 points in each of their last 2 games. Now, granted, they were opponents that are not near the class of Sumter, but it just shows that they can put the ball in the end zone.
David Shelton joining us, and David, I guess we could be talking about these same teams if it were 1992. I was going to ask you about Northwestern at Gaffney too. So I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same. What are you hearing about Gaffney? Are they in line, like Somerville, to kind of be that team that's standing at the end to dethrone Dutch Fork this year?
Yeah, I think if Gaffney can stay healthy, they're only going to get better as the year goes. They've got some underclassmen playing, but they're very athletic. But they got to stay healthy. It's any high school team, you got to stay healthy at the key position, and that's quarterback. Unless you got a great backup, you lose your starting trigger man, and that makes it a problem. And both these teams, Northwestern and Gaffney have really good quarterbacks and really good passing games. So, but to answer your question on Gaffney, I think they are for real. I think they're legitimately a state title contender again. But, you know, they got to stay healthy like everybody else.
Well, you heard me compliment Irmo. I don't know what level of competition Irmo has played, so get me informed. Irmo is at Hartsville tonight, but when you kind of see that column points for and points against, Irmo really jumps out this year.
Yeah, and they haven't played the schedule. They haven't played anyone like they're going to play tonight. Hartsville has played Camden and scored 50 on them. They scored 51 on Dillon. So offensively, Hartsville is a juggernaut. They average, get this now, per carry through 4 games, they're averaging 10.3 yards a rush. That means every time they run the football, they pretty much get the first down. That's an incredible stat. But now Irmo will be a quality defense. They got a really good quarterback, the coach's son, and they will score. But they've got to be able to stand up to Hartsville's offense. I mean, it'll probably end up being 7-6, but my guess is that both teams will be in the 30s tonight.
David Shelton joining us, and we'll let him get out of here in a couple of minutes. He's got Sumter and Somerville, and, of course, he'll give us the eyewitness account of that tonight on the High School Scoreboard Show on many of these same channels across the Sports Talk Media Network. David, I'll let you get out on this one, but I couldn't escape this game. South Florence at South Point. That is the number 1 team in 4A and the number 4 team in 4A, and neither one of them is giving up much of anything defensively. So I don't know if you've gotten to see either of those teams, but I know you've got eyes and ears all over the state. How does that one break down?
Well, that is a potential preview of the 4A state championship. I mean, they're good. Both teams are very good. They do enough offensively to score enough points to win, but they're both banking on the defense, and it'll be a very physical. It'll be a slobber knocker, as they call them, because both teams are really going to get after each other.
Good, David. We really appreciate it, and of course, we'll talk to you later on. Go get your pregame done. What is your pregame ceremony? Do you do like 2 hot dogs, 1 with mustard, 1 with chili? What's your pregame?
Typically, my plan is to wait and see if they bring food up before I go to the concession stand. If it's free, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, we got Bojangles a couple weeks ago at SportsTalkSC. Bojangles, future sponsor of the Sports Talk.
Oh, yeah. Last week they had, the last time I was at Somerville, they brought up barbecue. I think it was barbecue and some chicken nuggets. And so I'm going to wait. And if I don't get anything by about halftime, then I might have to get a chili dog.
Love it. Well, plus when you're somewhere like Somerville and they've got all those state championships, you got to bring it. If you're 5A, you got to bring it in the press box, right? With the pregame.
I totally agree with that assessment.
All right, David, we'll talk again soon. We'll talk tonight. So go enjoy your game.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right. David Shelton, right there from Charleston Post and Courier. High School Sports Report, and he's got Sumter and Somerville. And Pat, you ever heard some of that? South Florence and South Point, and now look, you were a Skeeza guy, right?
I was a Skeeza kid.
What do you think? What do you think when you hear? Hold on, I got one here. Hammond at Wilson Hall, right?
Gosh, Hammond. It's been really hard to bet against them for 15 years now. Mm-hmm. I realize now they had a changeover at head coach, but last year or the first year did not really seem to take much of a step down. Wilson Hall, they were always tough. There were a lot of good players coming out of Sumter, but I don't know if you're talking about like a spread potentially or just win-loss.
Yeah, win-loss.
I can't bet against Hammond. And I went to Heathwood, Hammond's arch rival. Proud to say we never lost to them when I was in high school, but now I think Hammond wins that rivalry mostly year in, year out. I can't say anything bad about the Skyhawks. I would think they will win.
All right. Well, we're going to get now to the football filibuster. We've got to take a break here on our Founders Federal Football Friday. But coming up, we have got the football filibuster, and you're going to hear Attorney General Alan Wilson and Governor Jim Hodges breaking down the following games. All right. And then we'll share our picks. South Carolina at Georgia, The Bulldogs, 27.5-point favorites at home. That is the second largest spread in the 30 years since South Carolina and Georgia have been playing against each other in the SEC. And, of course, that yearly matchup, just like Georgia-Clemson, we have listeners right now that are listening and say, oh, man, Georgia-Clemson, that was like the game of the year when they played each other. Danny Ford's defense against Herschel Walker and all that, and Kevin Butler and all that was going on in that rivalry, that's gone. Soon, meaning next year, South Carolina, Georgia, gone. Finito. Last time those two will share a field this year annually. And you can count on it. Florida Atlantic is at Clemson. Tigers favored by 24.5. Will they take their aggression out on the Owls? We'll find out. Pat Daniel will be there. Tennessee is at Florida. You already heard. I'm calling for the big upset. Let's see if I get pie in my face. LSU is at Mississippi State. Florida State at Boston College. BC has yet to look good. We'll take a break. Football Filibuster next.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Clear and cool tonight with tomorrow, perfect. Sunshine all day with low humidity and a high of 83. For Sunday, a bit more humidity to go with a mix of sun and clouds at a high temp of 83. There's a 30% chance of afternoon showers. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Have you heard about the South Carolina Wise Woman Program? It's a program for women aged 40 to 64 who are South Carolina residents and meet some other requirements. It's a program to promote lasting heart-healthy lifestyles for women and help them reduce their risk of heart disease and stroke through screenings and services for high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, and so much more. Ask your healthcare provider about it, or you can learn more at cdc.gov/wisewoman.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting New England harbors and fishing villages are being emptied of boats as the region prepares for Hurricane Lee. The waterlogged region is getting ready for tropical storm force wind gusts that will span an area more than 400 miles wide. That's concerning because the ground is saturated and Maine is the nation's most heavily forested state, raising worries of widespread power outages. Kansas says you are what you were at birth. No changes to people's birth certificates. The state health department's announcement Friday cited a new law that prevents the state from legally recognizing so-called gender identity. The State Department of Health and Environment's decision makes Kansas one of a handful of states that won't alter birth certificates. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 288 points. The Nasdaq dropped 217. More details at srnnews.com.
Hi, I'm Karen Pickard.
And I'm Katie Griner.
Every Tuesday at 8:30 to 9 a.m., we'll be talking about issues that concern seniors and their families.
So join us right here on The Point Radio for the Positive Points on Aging, brought to you by Oakleaf Village of Lexington.
Have you ever walked in and looked at how beautiful a Lexington Discount Homes manufactured home really is? For more than 35 years, Lexington Discount Homes has helped families find home ownership with phenomenal customer service and a selection that fits your needs and your wallet. They have a huge variety of homes and prices. Come by and visit us at 1847 Augusta Highway or take a virtual tour online at lexingtondiscounthomes.com. That's lexingtondiscounthomes.com.
September means football and fall temps rolling in, but when it comes to our favorite fur babies, the shelters are still full from summer, and those dogs and cats need you more than ever. Columbia Animal Shelter proudly takes part in the Best Friends Animal Society's National Adoption Weekend with free adoptions on all pets on the 15th and 16th. Visit petfinder.com to see which puppy or kitty cat you'd like as a part of your family. Be a hero and adopt your next pet. Visit petfinder.com today.
Hey, Kev here. One thing that's truly unique about The Point is you. We call our listeners the Point family. You've stayed so loyal. You've stayed so supportive. Thank you for that. We call The Point Columbia's local talk radio experience. We're community driven. We push hard for our advertising partners because they're mom and pop businesses, small business owners. People ask me all the time, how can we help you with The Point, Kev? Well, it's pretty simple. Support those who support us. If you hear an advertising partner here on The Point, use them. Support them. Brag to them that you're there because you trust The Point. If you're a local small business owner, I'd love to have you as part of our lineup. Give me a call. Tell me your story. I'll create a customized advertising package that fits your budget and your needs. Nothing corporate, Nothing cookie cutter. Look, if you haven't tried radio, it does work, especially here at The Point. Give us an opportunity to share you with our Point family. Call me, 563-8558. That's 563-8558. Or email me directly, kev@makethepointradio.com. I sure hope we could partner up. Join the Point family.
Hey, it's Jay with the Cigar Militia, Columbia's premium cigar store. Have you noticed the change in weather? Some people call it fall. We call it cigar smoking season. Or better yet, it's football weather. Come in and check out our humidor and do what I do and get your go-to stick or try something new. We've got an awesome staff willing to walk you through and help you find your new favorite. And besides, you're going to need some celebration cigars for when your favorite team wins the big game. The Cigar Militia, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Oh, a little from the house band there, Hootie and the Blowfish. Uh-oh.
That's right.
All right, Pat. That means Pat's leaning to South Carolina plus 27.5 when he plays Hootie music. This is what it means, just historically. Welcome back to Sports Talk. It is a Founders Federal Football Friday, and it is after 6:30, which means it is time for the football filibuster. We have got with us tonight Governor Hodges and Attorney General Alan Wilson. And gentlemen, I had dug deeply into each of your political careers and your fundraising efforts, found some interesting nuggets, but we're not going to have time, so we're just going to talk football. You guys okay with that?
Sounds good to me.
Good, yes. I kid. I did not dig into your political past. At all. Governor Hodges, are you with us?
I am with you. I'm driving into Columbia right now.
You know what? The weather's great. It's dipped under 90 here in Columbia. It's a nice fall breeze now. All right, guys. Governor Hodges and Attorney General Alan Wilson each went 3-2 last week. Both below 500, but of course in this competition, it is for the Corn Cup. That is the fight. Governor Hodges owns many Corn Cups. He displays them proudly. If you haven't seen one of those, it's a large chalice with a little secret compartment for Jiffy cornbread. I don't know what the whole thing is. Maybe, Governor Hodges, you can describe it. What does it look like when you get the Corn Cup UPS to you?
It looks like those cups that British royalty have. It's actually that large and ornate.
Right, like winning the Open Championship. All right. Well, here are the games. This week, gentlemen. South Carolina is at Georgia, and this line is steep. The Bulldogs are favored by 27.5. Florida Atlantic at Clemson. Clemson favored by 24.5. Tennessee is at Florida. Florida's getting 6.5 points in the Swamp. LSU is at Mississippi State, and their new head coach, Zach Arnett, and Mississippi State is getting 9.5 points at home. And Florida State is on the road. They're going up to Chestnut Hill. Florida State at Boston College. Florida State favored by 26 points on the road. All right, so we'll get to the picks. Governor Hodges, we'll start with you. We'll go in reverse order, okay? We're going to, in terms of the games, Florida State is at Boston College. Florida State is good. Boston College is bad. But we play with the spread here. So, Governor, what do you think? Is 26 points enough for the Eagles?
I'm going to take Florida State because you look at, I think Northern Illinois beat BC, and then BC barely beat Holy Cross. So I think Florida State will easily win that one in a big way.
All right. General Wilson, your thoughts?
Hey, man, it's great to be with you tonight. By the way, thank you for taking over his cornship. We appreciate it. Anyway, I'm with the governor on this. I'm going with Florida State.
All right, also with Florida State. So Attorney General Wilson also with the Noles. So nobody picking Boston. You know what? That's good. Boston, they're Yankees. What are they even doing in the ACC? I don't know. All right. Okay. All right. All right. We'll stay with you, General Wilson. How about this? LSU at Mississippi State. So Mississippi State has a new coach this year, Zach Arnett. LSU, they lost, on national television to Florida State. So LSU is favored by 9.5. Where do you come down on this one?
Well, I think LSU is going to win it, but I'm going to give Mississippi State the edge on covering the spread. They are at home, and so give me Mississippi State.
All right. General Wilson is going with the Cowbells. Governor Hodges, your retort.
I'm with the general on that. The line was at one point was 9.5, and I think it's moved down to 7.5. So obviously Vegas knows something that we don't. But I'm going to take Mississippi State.
I don't think when you were the active governor of South Carolina, you would have been talking about line movement. Am I right about that?
Not publicly.
Oh, that's great. All right, Governor Hodges, we'll stay with you. Tennessee at Florida. So the Gators are getting 6.5 points at home. So that means the Volunteers are favored by 6.5 points. Pat pointed this out earlier. Florida has not beaten Tennessee at home in 20 seasons.
No, Tennessee has not won in Gainesville since 2003, exactly 20 years.
Okay, so it's been 20 years since Tennessee, but they've got the better team this year. Governor Hodges, what's your feeling here?
I think I'm going to take Tennessee. Florida appears to have a lot of problems that haven't been worked out yet. So I think they'll beat them by at least a touchdown.
Okay, so Tennessee. General Wilson, will we have our first disagreement tonight?
So here's where the bipartisanship ends. I'm going to go with Florida. I'm going to go with Florida for the reasons stated below, what you just said, but also, honestly, I feel like Florida's going to come in strong this week. So give me Florida. I do think Tennessee will probably win, but I think it's going to be a tighter game.
Oh, we almost had it. We almost had aligned the parties here in South Carolina. Not quite. All right, General Wilson, now let's get to our in-state teams. Florida Atlantic. That's the Owls at the Tigers. Clemson, of course, shocking opening season loss to Duke. Then they bounced back and they, addressed those concerns against Charleston Southern in the second half last week. This week, 24.5-point favorites. Your feelings, General?
Look, Clemson stumbled coming out the gate, and they stumbled the first half of last week, although they finished really strong. But I just feel like the Tigers have an opportunity to have a statement game against Florida Atlantic at home. I think they've shaken the rust off. I think they're going to take them to the woodshed. So I think Clemson's going to cover.
Okay. Clemson big. Governor Hodges?
Florida Atlantic is horrible. Clemson's going to win that one big.
I love it. All right, one more.
Bipartisanship is back.
It's back. We're back on. All right, wonderful. All right, no need for a third party here in our state. All right, South Carolina is at Georgia. Governor Hodges, big line here. The Bulldogs, 27.5-point favorites. What do you think?
I think it's too many points. I thought the offense looked pretty good last week. I think we're going to score a few. Georgia generally has a game where they don't play particularly well, even at home, early in the season. And I think Georgia will win it, but I think it's going to be much closer than that. So I'll take the Cox and the points.
All right, South Carolina. All right, General Wilson, what do you think?
It was about 4 or 5 seasons. I think the spread was similar. And I remember thinking going into this game, I think I was even playing against the governor that year, and I picked Georgia to cover a huge spread. And lo and behold, South Carolina won between the hedges. I think that was 2019. I know these were different teams, and it was a long time ago, but Carolina always plays up to its competition. I agree with the governor. I think Georgia is going to win, but I think South Carolina is going to make some adjustments in its O-line. I still think they have a long way to go. I think they're going to keep it interesting. Rattler, I just saw a stat, and he's got the most passing yards of any quarterback in the country, if I saw it correctly. So I think Carolina's going to keep it closer than that spread. I do think Georgia will come out with the win, but give me Carolina for the spread.
Yep. All right, that's a lot of points. All right, a lot of wood. Governor Hodges and Attorney General Wilson agree on these games. South Carolina at Georgia, both pick South Carolina. Florida Atlantic at Clemson, both pick Clemson. LSU at Mississippi State, both Governor Hodges and Attorney General Wilson are on the Bulldogs, Mississippi State. And Florida State at Boston College, neither one of them believe in Boston College. Both Governor Hodges and Attorney General Wilson pick Florida State. The lone dissension here is Tennessee and Florida. Governor Hodges is on the Vols. Attorney General Wilson is on the Gators. All right, time for amendments. Governor Hodges, we'll go back to you first. Do you want to change your mind? Have you thought better of anything?
No, I'm going to stick with my picks.
All right, Attorney General Wilson, what do you think? Amendment.
I noticed this is a 6.5 point. It's one of those 0.5. And last week the governor almost nipped him. Almost got 4-1, but he won the Coastal game by half a point. It was right there within half a point. And so this is going to be another one of those, but I think it's going to go my way this time. So I'm going to hold with Florida.
All right. Everybody is holding. Gentlemen, wonderful. One of the best segments of the week. I know you always look forward to. I know that both of you are dealing with serious issues out there, doing serious work, and then you come on here, and I know you've been thinking about it all week. So we really appreciate your time, and I know it can ruin your week if you lose too. So thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
There it is. Governor Hodges and Attorney General Wilson both went 3-2 last week. So you can back them, baby. Just back them if you like. Now our picks. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Let's go over, our big board quickly. I've got this week's picks. Let's see. Do I have Pat's picks? Sometimes Pat comes in late. No, I do not have Pat's picks. I have to fill it in. Just extra work.
That's right. Keeping you on your toes, Smitty. I do have them right here, though.
All right, hold on.
Off to you as you go.
All right, hold on. You give me your picks, and then I'm going to redo my time card. Okay, hold on. All right, let's go over the picks. Again, you know the game: South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Clemson, Tennessee, Florida, LSU, Mississippi State, Florida State, and Boston College. I'll go through it quickly, but Corn is all over South Carolina. We just heard, I think, Attorney General Wilson say South Carolina often plays up to its competition, and Corn's betting on that as well. He likes Clemson to lay the big number against Florida Atlantic. He's got Tennessee, just like Governor Hodges. Tennessee, Pat, I'm pretty sure you're on Tennessee as well. We'll get back to that in a second. Corn likes LSU, too. I feel like there's a lot of favorites here. 3 favorites in a row, and then the dog, South Carolina. But Corn also likes underdog Boston College. Now, why did I give Corn? I gave him the honors off the tee box because he is off to a sizzling 8-2 start in picks so far this season. He's seeing the board, baby. So Phil Kornblut all over it. 4-1 last week, and he's got South Carolina, Clemson, Tennessee, LSU, and Boston College. Chris, who's tonight calling Sac-A-Stee and Dillon, that matchup, you can hear that one in the lower part of the state, 100.3 the game later on. That one will kick at 7:30, the Braves and the Wildcats. And, of course, Chris is also a part of the Duquesne Coastal Carolina broadcast tomorrow. He's got the Gamecocks as well. You're going to hear a lot of that. He likes Florida Atlantic plus the points. He's with me on Florida. He takes the Gators, Mississippi State, and Florida State. Chris was 2-3 last week, 5-5 on the season. Dr. Rick, nothing but an All-American and an All-Pro. He likes South Carolina to play up to its competition. He takes Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Boston College. Dr. Rick is 4-6 on the season. We already told you that I like Florida to pull the upset in the swamp. I've got Georgia. I think Georgia pulls South Carolina's arms and legs off. I don't think South Carolina can protect Rattler. And I heard what you said earlier that we've heard all week about Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson, and other football luminaries talking about South Carolina. They're going to get the ball out. I think Georgia knows that. I think Georgia knows what they have to do, and I just don't think South Carolina can counter it. What I would like to see the Gamecocks do is utilize the tight ends. They've got some talent at the tight end position. I think that could be a bit of the antidote to what they have run into, which is not being able to protect Rattler. But anyway, Rattler completing 83% of his passes this season. So I've got Florida pulling the upset. I've got Georgia pulling South Carolina's arms and legs off. I like Clemson. I think they take out their aggression. I think they need another good performance offensively before they play Florida State. That's my take there. So that's why I like Clemson. LSU over Mississippi State. I think Zach Arnett's finding his way there, and I think LSU's a lot better than they showed in week 1 against Florida State. Last year, they lost that game, and they turned their season around. I think they do it again. And I like Florida State big over Boston College. I think Florida State's, sometimes teams have that letdown. They've got Clemson next week. I don't think the Noles have a letdown because I think they're out to prove they're a national title contender. If you're a national title contender, you don't take your foot off the gas. Pat, what are your picks?
So starting with down in Athens between the hedges, you already said earlier, I am taking the Gamecocks. Now, no, I do not believe the Gamecocks win this game, but I believe they get a couple of scores late. I think Rattler stays in. He continues to sling it all over the field, and I think they make up those points towards the end of the game. But you do have me worried here because you're right. If we're all predicting they're going to do all these checkdowns and quick release of the football by Rattler, well, of course, Will Muschamp and the defense down in Athens, of course, they know that too, and they're going to game plan for that. But that's a lot of points. Give me those points.
All right, here's what does give me pause. Here's the only reason I would take South Carolina over Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's coordinators are now Mike Bobo and Will Muschamp.
Bobo is not good. I would not have my faith in Mike Bobo ever, but I do have faith in the talent. I think that the talent they have, you or I could go in there and play calls and still win a lot of games with that offense and then the talent they have on defense. I just think they are so littered with 4 stars and 5 stars across the ball, skill positions in the trenches, quarterback, just all across the field. Talent, and they win. You can have the best coach on the planet go in there, but if you don't have the talent, you're not going to win squat.
Ballers and bangers everywhere.
That's right, ballers and bangers. I just think that the skill position players for Georgia make up for any deficiencies that the coaches, specifically Mike Bobo, may have. Now, defensively, I think Muschamp also still has a bit of a chip on his shoulder when playing the Gamecocks, and he wants to go out and kind of prove whatever he wants to prove. But I think he wants to shut down the Gamecocks anytime they play. But still, that's a lot of points. I think Rattler slings the ball all over the field. And I think Mario Anderson might actually come out. We might see some more touches from him. He didn't really do much against North Carolina. Played a little bit more last week. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry on the season. I think we see a little bit more of him on first and second down and a bit more of the carry on Joyner on third when they're going to do more of that check down quick pass.
You may be right. That's another thing. I think South Carolina, as we see this team grow throughout the season, Rattler's been terrific, as we said, 83% completion percentage so far. I think where they could, and look, Juice Wells is good when he's healthy. Only 1 catch so far this year, but we know he'll be good when he's healthy. Xavier Legette's really emerged. Just heard Shane Beamer talking about the fact he ran 22 miles an hour in practice. So he's always giving that effort. Those are good things. All those are good things. Untapped resources for South Carolina, in my opinion. The tight end position and what you just said, Mario Anderson. I think he's the kind of player, maybe DeCarrion Joyner showed out a little bit more when you're not live, right? When you're playing thud and practicing. But that big back over 4 quarters, I think he's going to be more valuable to South Carolina over 4 quarters than DeCarrion Joyner. All right, we got to go quickly. I know we got a break, so finish your pick,
also,
Pat.
and one last thing on that, Juice Wells. We have not seen much from him. He's been coming back from injury, only 1 catch on the year for 5 yards. I think he has a pretty big game tomorrow as well. I really think that he's going to cause some issues there in the secondary, and he's going to get loose a few times. And then the rise of Xavier Legette. I mean, he's just been an absolute monster out there on the field. Luke Doty is starting to show a lot of potential. And then Trey Knox, they have to get him more involved. Anyways, moving on from there. So I do take the Gamecocks to cover. That Florida Atlantic Clemson game, I'm taking Clemson there. I think they do win by more than 24.5. The only thing that's giving me pause there is that they may try to take a bit of a playing possum approach and maybe not show their full hand to save stuff for Florida State. But I do think they need that confidence booster on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to continue to air it out. They want Klubnik and that offense to be as confident as humanly possible going into that following week of Florida State.
Agree 100%.
Tennessee, Florida. You could have told me the spread was 25, and I'd take Tennessee in this game. I think Tennessee's out for blood. I think they're going to show no mercy. I think they just destroy the Gators in Gainesville tomorrow.
All right, just a quick reminder, Pat Daniel hates Billy Napier. Okay, go on.
Your words, not mine. Anyways, LSU, Mississippi State. I think LSU, they're must-win territory, and they need to start winning with some style points if they want to try to get to the playoff into the season. So I think I'm taking LSU to win even in Starkville, 9.5. If that spread was 10.5, I'd take the Dogs. But with it being 9.5, give me the Tigers. Florida State, Boston College. Florida State. Boston College can't stop a cold. I mean, they're just terrible offensively, defensively, all across the board. This is just not going to be a very pretty year for the Eagles up there in Chestnut Hill. I think that also Mike Norvell and the Seminoles, they also want to kind of quote-unquote intimidate the Tigers. I think they want to be able to show, hey, we're coming off 3 monster wins in a row coming into Death Valley. I think they want to try to attack the mindset of the Tigers. And with that being said, they're going to go out there and run up a score against Boston College.
All right, we got to get to a break. I agree with you. I agree with that. I agree with almost everything there. I think Boston College at the next round of realignment, like Boston College is like a bad season from being in the MAC. I think it's going the wrong way for the Eagles. We'll take a break. We've got the recruiting report on the other side, and still ahead, we'll get some professional help. Sterling Picks with Lee Sterling, and we'll talk NASCAR in the fast lane with Jeff Owens. All that's ahead on Sports Talk.
It's Friday Night Live at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson, and you're invited. It's the place to be in Tiger Town the night before every Clemson football game, home or away. Lakeside has the fantastic restaurant and bar, Traditions on the Lake, plus an online TV show featuring Tiger legends Joe and Jeff Bostic. And we finish with the best. September 15th, it's the Eric Wheeler Crew and the Dave Landio Band from Charleston on September 15th. It's Friday Night Live at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson.
South Carolinians, this message is for you, whether you or a loved one are about to receive Medicare or want to improve your current Medicare situation. Brian Spencer of Palmetto Medicare is the guy for you. This is Mike Morgan, and I've known Brian for over 20 years. He started Palmetto Medicare in 2005, and here's what I can tell you about Brian. He's not the best-looking guy in the world. He's not a poet. He's not a very good golfer. He can't sing at all, not even in the shower. All of this is true. But here's what else I can tell you about Brian Spencer. There's no one I would trust more with that all-important decision of who will handle your Medicare benefits. Palmetto Medicare is local, specific, and native to the Palmetto State. Any and all plans in South Carolina are available through Palmetto Medicare, and they offer a free annual Medicare and prescription review. So with that in mind, there's just one phone call to make, 803-960-9484. 803-960-9484. Let Brian Spencer do the one thing he is good at, helping people with all their Medicare needs.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
Look no further than Founders Federal Credit Union for all your mortgage loan needs. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or upgrading your space, Founders has many loan options to fit your lifestyle and your budget, such as low fixed and adjustable rate and flexible terms. Plus, Founders never charges PMI, private mortgage insurance. Our mortgage loan officers are here to answer your questions and help you start the home buying process. Stop by an office or visit foundersfcu.com to apply for a mortgage today. Federally insured by NCUA, membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Equal housing lender.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. People often ask me, when should I start saving for college? And I always tell them, start today. September is College Savings Month, a great time to start saving for your child's education. Future Scholar makes it easy to open and manage your account online, and the plan offers options and benefits you won't find with a regular savings or investment account. So make this the month that you go to FutureScholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. FutureScholar.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk. Smitty sitting in for Corn. Corn celebrating Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. Happy New Year to you, Corn, and your family. He's enjoying himself, and you'll hear him break down everything when he comes back. We have got Pat Daniel in the studio with us as well, and we talked about our picks in the last segment. We still have recruiting ahead, and we're going to get some professional help. Lee Sterling, as always, will join us. That's coming up in about 7 minutes. You heard Attorney General Wilson. He said, I saw something was, and he asked, almost said it like, is Spencer Rattler leading the nation in passing? Well, he's not exactly, but he has thrown for 698 yards in 2 games. And you start dialing it back to what he did against Notre Dame in the loss in the bowl game. And then, of course, Tennessee and Clemson before that. Spencer Rattler is on quite a roll. Will it continue into Athens tomorrow? We'll talk to Lee Sterling about that when we come back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden is treading carefully as he responds to the auto workers' strike. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The president said no one wants to strike, but he expressed sympathy for the union at a time when automakers are earning lots of money.
Those record profits have not been shared fairly, in my view, with those workers.
Mr. Biden was careful not to criticize the automakers who play a key role in the economy of several Midwestern states. Some Republicans blamed the president for pushing climate mandates, paving the way for the strike. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Tropical storm warnings are in effect for much of the Massachusetts and New England coastline as Hurricane Lee continues to advance north over the Atlantic Ocean. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey tells WCVB the state will be prepared for whatever Lee brings.
I declared a state of emergency in Massachusetts. I do this because it's necessary to get assets in place before anything lands here in Massachusetts. It puts us in the best possible position to be able to respond in the ways that we need. This includes both positioning equipment and personnel.
Maine and coastal Nova Scotia and New Brunswick are expected to see the brunt of the storm's remnants on Saturday. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky will visit Washington next week. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says Zelensky will also visit Capitol Hill.
I think he's looking forward to the opportunity not just to see President Biden here at the White House, but also to see congressional leaders from both parties to make the case that the United States has been a great friend and partner to Ukraine throughout this entire brutal war.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 288 points, the Nasdaq dropping 217, the S&P 500 index lower by 54 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans while taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Inflation is pushing up the cost of just about everything, but life insurance actually costs less today than it did a few years ago. Now is the time to get the insurance you need. Call SelectQuote and we'll help you save more than 50% on term life insurance. You can get up to $2 million in same-day coverage with no medical exam.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-646-9595 or go to SelectQuote.com now. That's 1-800-646-9595. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Correspondent Seth Sutel has all of the details on the Friday PM markets report, with stocks ending lower on all 3 indexes on Friday.
Stocks closed lower on Wall Street, giving the S&P 500 its second losing week in a row.
The benchmark index lost 1.2% Friday. The Dow fell 288 points. That's about 0.8%. The Nasdaq Composite gave back 1.6%. The market had posted some gains this week, following several healthy indicators on the economy. That came ahead of the Federal Reserve's policy meeting next week, where it's expected to hold interest rates steady. Tech stocks were the biggest drag on the market. Microsoft fell 2.5%. Automaker stocks held their ground after the United Auto Workers Union walked off the job at several plants overnight. Ford closed little changed, and GM rose 0.9%. Seth Sutel, New York.
News and analysis always available at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Clear and cool tonight with a low temp dipping to 59. Tomorrow, perfect. Sunshine all day with low humidity and a high of 83 for Sunday. A bit more humidity to go with a mix of sun and clouds at a high temp of 83. There's a 30% chance of afternoon showers. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours. Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family. Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina number 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Welcome back in, hour number 2. Founders Federal Football Friday here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Smitty's sitting in for Corn, but the stars of the night are our great guest. It's a terrific lineup. You've already heard the football filibuster with Governor Hodges, Attorney General Alan Wilson, and you've heard David Shelton breaking down high school football. Of course, we'll circle back with David on the high school scoreboard tonight, 10:05. Here on many of these same stations. And now, you've heard our amateur picks, our amateur effort. Time to get some pro help with ParamountSports.com's Lee Sterling. Lee, welcome back. Good to talk to you again.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great, Lee. And, man, how have things been going at Paramount Sports?
Great. This is what I'm going to do. Things are so good. I'm going to give your listeners a free baseball play. We do baseball here, and I have a guy. His name is Jackson Bond. He goes by Jack Bond, not James Bond. Jack Bond. He's 9-2 on his last 40 to 50 unit plays. He has a 50 unit play starting in 4 minutes. Woo. Cincinnati Reds minus 105. I'm just going to hand it to everyone. Think it's going to be a 4, 5, 6 run blowout. So just my way of saying thank you. I'm in such a good mood.
We love that. Oh, Lee,
yeah.
we love free plays. You know,
there you go.
We love free plays.
Hammer it, everyone. I don't say this often. I think we just found something. When you see the score, hopefully people are happy, and send me an email. Or go on Twitter at Paramount Sports and thank me. I think it's going to be an easy winner. All right.
You really have to be a pro this time of year.
I've never given out a free baseball play. Did it on the show right before this ever in the history of 30 years. So just in a good mood. Things are going good. We won 11-3 for our clients last week. We had a 45 unit NFL play. We're 62-20 on those the last 15 years. My Hurricanes, maybe for the first time in 20 years, are turning the corner. My Dolphins won. My daughter's a lead in an off-Broadway show that starts tonight. I'm in a great mood.
Oh, whoa! Yeah. Things are going your way, Lee. All right.
I think so.
Well, let's talk a little football. Tennessee favored by 6 or 6.5, depending on where you are. They're going to the Swamp. And, of course, Florida, we all know, did not look good on national television against Utah. Tennessee, of course, comes into the year. There was a lot of hype entering the year, but Joe Milton's been a little scatter-armed. So how do you see it playing out?
So most people make a lot of their decisions by the first thing they see on a team. And Florida looked horrible. I mean, they were atrocious that night. But let's remember this. Where was the game? It was at Utah. They were backed up. Graham Mertz, first, and I know he had started for Wisconsin for two years, but first time he's playing with this team against a good defense and a really tough place to play. And they were backed up inside the 10 4 times here. They had penalties. I think they can run the ball some on Tennessee, and I think Tennessee's the better team talent-wise. But kind of like the way Miami played against, Texas A&M, home field advantage is very important in college football. And the Gators have won 16 of the last 18 games against Tennessee. Tennessee did win last year 38-33, but Hendon Hooker was incredible. I think he only had like 5 or 6 incompletions the entire game here. So I expect Graham Mertz to play better. Not saying he's great, but better. I think the running game is going to do enough here. And the underdog is 14-3 in Gator games of late. I'm calling it here. Wrong team favorite. Florida wins outright 31-27.
Oh, Lee, you're cribbing off me. I already picked the Gators in the upset. I love being with the pros. Being with the pro. All right, how about this one, Lee? LSU against Mississippi State. I think similar circumstance in that LSU didn't look good in front of the world. Mm-hmm. Now they make that trip. Tough place to play, but a first-year coach in Zach Arnett from Mississippi State.
Well, they've actually played well there. They're 12-3 against the spread last 15 games in their trips to Stark Vegas. Last year, Mississippi State jumped out to that 13-0 lead, and then LSU roared back for a 31-16 win. LSU, I think they're going to be much improved this year. Mississippi State, there's something wrong with this team. I mean, the offense are running the ball too much with Kevin Barbay, the offensive coordinator brought over from App State. They had 9 penalties for 90 yards. In their game last week, Mississippi State at Arizona turned the ball over the first 4 possessions of the game, and yet Mississippi State only won 31-24. They got outgained. Arizona outgained Mississippi State 431-307 here. LSU scored 30 or more points 10 times since the start of last year, and Mississippi State, unless they can hit on some vertical plays down the field, I think LSU's the right side. I think they pull away late, 37-20.
All right, Lee. The two, of course, we want to hear you discuss right here from in our state. I'll be at this game tomorrow. South Carolina is at Georgia. Georgia, a massive favorite. You almost never see this in conference games, but this spread is between 27 and 28 points. Can South Carolina punch back against this monstrous Georgia team?
Well, usually it's only Vanderbilt. You see the big spreads like
right.
this.
Okay, Vandy, you're right. Fair enough.
So, the Bulldogs totally rattled Spencer Rattler last year in that 48-7 win. But he did announce the offensive line and their defense isn't as good. But he did show up late in the year, and their offense was rolling. They beat Tennessee, who was ranked 5th at the time, 63-38. They beat Clemson, who was 8 at the time, 31-30. In a bowl game, they put up 38 points on Notre Dame. No great shake there. That's nothing to be embarrassed about. Georgia, they're ranked number 1, but are they that much better than everyone else in the top 10? I'm not so sure. I have not been impressed by the running game so far. Now, it might come on and all of a sudden prove me wrong, but Alabama had a couple-year run, then LSU for a year, and for 2 years, Georgia. I don't know if you can lose that much talent and just keep rolling like that. South Carolina has nothing to lose here. You're telling me Georgia's going to outscore them by at least a touchdown every single corner? I don't know if they can do that every single quarter. I'm not going to put my leg in or even my foot. I'll dip 2 toes in. Georgia, 42-21, South Carolina covers.
Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. 2 more to get to. Of course, another big game, Clemson. So this is kind of the appetizer prior to the entree, Clemson, Florida State. So Clemson has one more get-right opportunity against Florida Atlantic. The Tigers are favored by 24 at home.
And Florida Atlantic is way down. Now, they got a nice transfer quarterback, Casey Thompson, who started at Texas, was at Nebraska. I don't know why he left Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska should have kept him. But he just doesn't have help. He doesn't have the weapons. And Ohio, that's right, not Ohio State, Ohio shut them down in the second half at home. Could not score a point. I think the Clemson defensive line is going to absolutely dominate here. Sometimes you got to lay it if you want to play it here. Clemson here, 48-14.
You can tell Lee's been doing this a while. All right. And one more as we hear about ParamountSports.com. I actually think this is a fascinating game, Lee. We want to hear quickly about Ole Miss and Georgia Tech because Ole Miss is coming off with really is kind of an underrated emotional matchup against Tulane. That was kind of an upset spot. So tell us about ParamountSports.com, what you got going on with Ole Miss and Georgia Tech.
Well, if they'd like to get this game, going to give it to everyone for free. I have a real strong opinion on this game. Just be one of the first 10 callers. Call 800-400-9741. Give you Ole Miss and Georgia Tech on me. Does Ole Miss blow them out? Or can Georgia Tech, which almost beat Louisville, keep it close or win the game? 800-400-9741, first 10 callers, and a lot going on. I released the free baseball 50-unit play, and we rate our plays from 10 to 50 units. That just started. We have a UFC selection, a 50-unit UFC selection. We're 15-2 on our 40 to 50-unit selections in the UFC the last 8 months. The last 3 have been first or second round knockouts. So you want to get that, and it's an underdog. It's not a favorite. So 5 selections, $35. And if you've never been with me before, try the Baker's Dozen. 13 games combined Saturday and Sunday, and you don't have to call me back Saturday or Sunday morning for the games. As soon as you purchase it, a window pops open, all 13 games, Baker's Dozen, $97, one place. And check out the new website. We got free pick videos. So let's say there's another game you want to see me break down and predict. I mean, we've got games like Washington and Michigan State. We've got the Ohio State-Western Kentucky game, Texas and Wyoming. Check out those videos, ParamountSports.com.
Lee, we always get smarter when we hear from you every week. Thanks so much for spending the time with us, and thanks for the free pick.
Thanks so much, Smitty. Take care.
That is Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. He backed me up on Florida.
Got me nervous now.
Got you nervous, Pat. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got some NASCAR. We've got recruiting. We're going to, before we get to recruiting, we'll hear from Jeff Owens in the fast lane. NASCAR is at Bristol. That's happening when we come back. This is Sports Talk.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company, then talking to you, and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you. I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
Hi, it's Phil Kornblut of the Sports Talk Media Network. We love our high school football in South Carolina, and we love bringing you the scores every Friday night. From 10 to midnight, we check in on every region across the state with live reports and coaches' interviews. So whether you're in your car after a game or lounging in your den, be sure to dial up the Founders Federal High School scoreboard Friday nights right here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
George Bryant here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different. It's engaging, but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
Love it when it's forward, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders talk, the pack is moving past. Love it when they make you lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say. Boogity, 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 let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Love it when they're drafting, love it when they slide, love it when the back's straight, throttle's open wide. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. That's our racing, boys.
I won't be singing like Korn. Korn is off tonight. Phil Kornblut celebrating Rosh Hashanah with his family. So you've got me, Smitty, you've got Pat, and you have got Jeff Owens in the fast lane. The NASCAR season, 28 races in. They are at Bristol this weekend. But, Jeff, no dirt race.
Yeah, they announced that this afternoon, Smitty, that no dirt race next year. They're getting rid of it. Honestly, I'm not surprised, and I think most of the NASCAR community is happy about this. It was an experiment they tried for 2 or 3 years there, and it just didn't really work out. They never could get the dirt right, and the races just didn't go well. They had weather problems and all sorts of problems. And then I think the thing that really got them is that, they tried to hold it last year on Easter Sunday, and that just did not go over well. A lot of people weren't happy with that. So they announced today that they're scrapping the dirt race and going back to concrete next year, and they're going to have the old traditional spring race. And we'll see where that falls on the schedule. I'm sure it's not going to be Easter Sunday, but we're back to having 2 traditional races at Bristol.
Well, you mentioned it just didn't work. Jeff, to me, the visual was just a little bit off. It's one of those things, you have to do everything right. You can't put these cars on that track.
No, not on dirt. Not on dirt. On the bankings like that, it was a gimmick. They tried it. It just didn't work. And I think they finally realized it wasn't going to work. Now, a lot of people would still like to see them run a cup dirt race somewhere. We'll see if that happens down the road, but I think it was the right decision to go ahead and scrap this thing the way they got it set up now.
All right. Jeff Owens joining us here in the fast lane talking about Bristol. And, Jeff, this week, Kyle Larson, I'm not going to say he doesn't, he's not a prohibitive favorite. That's not the right way to put it. But he is, again, the favorite, as he kind of has been all season long. What's he doing so right?
Well, for one thing, they're having good luck right now. They've been a good team all year long, but things are just so competitive now. I think the days of a guy like Kyle winning 10 races are probably over with. And last year he had bad luck, and at the beginning of this year they had several races they could have won, and something happened here or there, a mistake, a wreck, speeding on pit roads, stuff like that. I think they've got it together right now, and they've put together 2 really good races. And I think you're right. I think he's emerged as a favorite. That was a great win last week by Tyler Reddick, and I'm really interested to see what he's going to do. He's coming on strong, too, and I think he's another guy that performs well at multiple tracks. So right now, it's easy to say those 2 guys are the favorites because they've won the first 2 races of the playoffs, but I think you're looking at 2 drivers, and two teams that are peaking at the right time, and I think they both got a good shot to get to that Final Four.
Well, and it's certainly not over by any means. You know, Denny Hamlin has won a couple of times previously at Bristol. What chances do you give him this weekend?
Yeah, I think he's got a shot. You know, the interesting thing is, you know, the last two races have been won by, I believe, Larson, and I can't remember who won the one before that. But prior to that, it was mostly your veteran guys. It was Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski that won. And a lot of those guys are in the playoffs, and some of them are under pretty heavy pressure right now. So I would not be surprised to see one of your veterans step up and win this weekend. I think Denny will certainly be in the mix.
Right. I was going to say, the reason I look at the history sometimes is it's the old – I don't know, there's certain guys that can always win at their local country club, right? They just know how the greens break there. And to me, Bristol stands out. I don't know that how many tracks are like that, but to me, it's like if you've never run at Bristol before or won at Bristol before, it's hard to do that for the first time.
Yeah, it is. It is. Darlington's like that. I think Martinsville is like that. It's a track that's very difficult, and it's it's a big challenge for both the driver and the team. And anytime that's the case, it's going to be hard for a young guy or a new team to step up there and win it. Tracks like Bristol favor the veterans. So, and I wouldn't be surprised again. Harvick, Keselowski, Truex is under a lot of pressure, and he doesn't typically run all that well at Bristol, but boy, he's got to this weekend. And you can throw Hamlin into that mix as well. So, it'll take a lot for one of these young guys. Now, certainly Kyle Larson, he's kind of at the middle or the peak of his career. He could certainly step up and win it. He did last year, and some other guys you can throw into that mix as well. But I think you're right. This is a track that favors the veteran guys who've won there before.
All right, Jeff, we're going to let you go. I sometimes I spring something on you, and I know you won't be surprised. You'll have something here. South Carolina is almost a 4-touchdown underdog to Georgia. That is a game you have seen many, many times, and many times South Carolina's been a big underdog. Not this big usually, but they're usually the underdog, or always the underdog, going into between the hedges. What is your initial thought when you see a line like that and these two teams get together?
Unfortunately, I think it's probably right. I hate to say that. I want to see them fully upset as much as anybody, but I think that just shows how much better Georgia is than everybody. And they're going to have that kind of line against a bunch of SEC teams this year because I just think they're that good. So I'm not surprised. Hopefully we can keep it close. That's kind of all I'm hoping for at this point.
Jeff, you sound like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Well,
yeah, I'm just being honest and realistic. I don't, I think they're 4 touchdowns better, honestly. I really do. I think that may change in the coming years. I think Beamer's got us headed in the right direction, but right now, Georgia's just head and shoulders above everybody.
All right. I appreciate you, Jeff. Enjoy the weekend.
Okay, Smitty, you too. You guys have a good one.
That is Jeff Owens in the fast lane, and he is so good. And that's why I said I could spring that on him. I know. And he's been thinking about Georgia, South Carolina, just like we have. And really good information there on what's coming up this weekend at Bristol. By the way, that race has been moved to 6:30. Let me make sure I get the note here from Bob Pockris, one of Jeff's colleagues there. Our note on both NASCAR weekends at Bristol in 20. We know that they're going to be concrete next season, and the start time of Saturday's NASCAR Cup Series race at Bristol has been moved to 6:30. So that's happening 6:30 Eastern. All right, let's do a little recruiting if we can, Pat. If we can, fast enough here, and that is brought to you by Seawells. I know that's one of your favorite haunts.
Love Seawells. I'm there all the time. I was there today for a little roast beef Friday, and that's courtesy of Andy. He gave us that name, but then also now they have started doing fried flounder on Friday, so it's Fried Flounder Fridays, Triple F. I was there today for that. Slathered a little bit of gravy on everything. Got all my local farm fresh veggies. This time of year, you can still get in there and get those straight from the farmer's market, along with salad bar and dessert. Highly recommend the banana pudding. You cannot beat that for the price you pay.
I heard, and it is a corn-free Friday today. I heard.
It is a corn-free Friday, you're right.
Corn has never been to the salad bar. He has never actually approached the salad bar at Seawells. It's all entrees for him.
He told me he's allergic, but I'm not sure I believe him.
I'm allergic to lettuce. All right. Recruiting report presented by Seawells. Hey, how about this Clemson note? Clemson made the Final Five with defensive end Solomon Williams of Tampa. The others in the top five. So this is who Clemson is competing against: Alabama, Oregon, Texas, A&M. So 5 heavy hitters there in the recruiting world. Williams was at Alabama last weekend and plans to be at Texas this weekend. He took official visits last summer to Alabama, Oregon, and UCF, and is scheduled for an official visit to A&M October 7th. Williams visited Clemson last March. Last season, Williams had 61 tackles, 32 for loss, 15.5 sacks.
Smitty, what's one thing all those competitors for Clemson have in common from a recruiting perspective?
Oh, are they all Nike schools or something?
High NIL allowances.
Oh.
Just throwing that out there.
Pat, we got to go to break in a minute. I don't have time for NIL stuff. We'll never make it. If you're going to bring NIL in, you were giving me the look-ahead line for Clemson and Florida State a minute ago. You got to stop. We don't have time. South Carolina in the top 11 with 2025 quarterback Darrell Johnson of Eastman, Georgia. The others in the list: Virginia Tech, Alabama, North Carolina, Auburn, Florida State, Southern Cal, Florida, Tennessee, UCF, and Michigan. That's the second time we've heard UCF tonight on the recruiting report. And Clemson offered 2025 athlete Jaden Harmon of Rome, Georgia. Some of his other offers: LSU, Vanderbilt, Michigan, Pitt, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Duke, Kentucky, and Missouri. He's going to be at Ole Miss this weekend. And I did want to mention, let's see if I can find my note. I think it was an important note that Alabama has a new starting quarterback this week. Notre Dame transfer Tyler Buckner is going to get the start for Alabama.
Whoa.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Clear and cool tonight with a low temp dipping to 59. Tomorrow, perfect. No humidity and a high of 83 for Sunday. A bit more humidity to go with a mix of sun and clouds and a high temp of 83. There's a 30% chance of afternoon showers. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point Local Weather. Ever wonder why more businesses don't provide the same excellent service as, say, Chick-fil-A? At Hometown 803, they do. They're your family-run, all things South Carolina store. Famous for their 803 area code hats with the crescent moon. They also have Carolina and Clemson-themed hats and their latest drop, PVC match hats, which are just on fire. Their local high school partner hats are the hats that give back with each sale. Visit their store in downtown Lexington next to McDonald's or online at hometown803.com. Use code RADIO at checkout to get 15% off.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Hurricane Lee is heading for the New England coast with winds of 80 miles an hour. A tropical storm warning extended from Maine through Massachusetts with powerful gusts forecast to arrive late in the day in southern New England. Maine and coastal Nova Scotia and New Brunswick are expected to see the brunt of the storm's remnants on Saturday. A jury has acquitted 3 men in the last trial connected to a plan to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. The scheme was portrayed as an example of homegrown terrorism on the eve of the 2020 presidential election. William Null, twin brother Michael Null, and Eric Molitor were found not guilty of providing support for a terrorist act and a weapon charge. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 288 points. The Nasdaq dropped 217. More details at srnnews.com.
There's more than one kind of customer when it comes to Shooter's Choice. First, there's the customer who knows what's what, has a pretty good idea of what he or she likes. You're looking for a few things. First, a good selection. Yep, Shooter's Choice has a huge selection. Firearms, ammo, accessories, optics, even gun safes. You're looking for good and fair pricing. Oh yeah, Shooter's has been around as your local stop forever because they treat you right. And how about customer service? Absolutely the best you'll find anywhere. The folks who work at Shooter's Choice are shooters and hunters just like you. They know their products, They can answer your question. And that brings me to the other type of customer, someone maybe more like me, no expert for sure, but wants to learn from the right people. I don't need some big box store guy who works in the shoe department half a week, sporting goods the other half. I need the experts at Shooter's Choice who will treat me right, answer my questions as simple as they might be. They'll make my experience excellent. Online, it's shooterschoicesc.com or visit them in person on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Shepherd's Glass has provided commercial, residential, and auto glass installation, repair, and replacement to Columbia for over 50 years. Large retail storefronts, auto, custom shower enclosures, and mirrors for that remodeling or new construction project. Visit shepherdsglass.com to see and learn more. Now with 2 locations on Flat Springs Road in West Columbia and Chapin at 855 Chapin Road. shepherdsglass.com.
Shepherd's Glass, Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The pipes burst, you're getting the repairs done. Now it's time for your flooring. This is where the flooring department shines. We don't have a huge multi-million-dollar showroom, but we all buy from the same manufacturers, so why pay more? We're locally owned and have 30 years experience in the flooring industry, and we stand by our work. Get tremendous customer service and great pricing with the flooring department, 951-3567, or online at theflooringdepartment.com. That's 951-3567 or 951-FLOR, the flooring department.
Straight down the middle, it went straight down the middle. Then it started to hook just a wee bit. And that's when my caddy lost sight of it. That little white pellet has never been, but it went straight down the middle, like they say.
It is time for birdies, bogeys, and biceps tonight on Sports Talk. Smitty sitting in for Corn. It is Rosh Hashanah, and Corn is with his family. But hey, we have the esteemed George Bryan and Tsunami Robbie with us. George, welcome back.
Yep, glad to be here. And I'll tell you what, it's my time of year. This is fall. The weather's beautiful. The golf course is at their best, and they are open on the weekends with plenty of availability. So let's. I don't want to hog all this excitement. Let's bring Tsunami Robbie to the tee. Welcome, Tsunami Robbie.
George, good to be with everybody this evening. You'd be proud of me, George. I just pushed the Prowler a couple hundred yards, and it has beat me down, but not enough to keep me from joining you guys for a little golf talk this evening.
Hey, that way to go, Tsunami Robbie. And I'll tell you what, I think you're fired up. You get that game in shape, not just your golf game, but that walking game. I think you're ready for something.
Well, once everybody reaches the bottom, and when you get there, you got to get back on the pony and get it going again. So I'm going to bring the biceps back to life so I can live up to the name.
So we'll miss Corn tonight, but who else is teeing it up with us? Did you say? Is that Mr. Smith with us, Patrick?
It is. Smitty's here, George, and Pat's in the house as well, and he's really dressed. He's dressed for the golf course today. I'll tell you that. That's what I'll tell you. He's
hey, I like it. I like it. Hey, we talk a little golf smack every now and then, and you get to play at a beautiful place right here in downtown Columbia. Just what I call a traditional country club. Forest Lake. I love that track, and I know the greens are just about perfect, and I'm guessing even there, there's some availability on the weekend. Football, a lot of football fans. That's what my favorite time of the year is, Paul.
Yeah, you get right. You get to play a little bit. Well, we'll get to some of what you want to cover tonight, but something that Corn shared with me that I wanted to share with you, George, or to hear you talk about a little bit is right there in Blythewood nearby. Daniel Ezel and Josh Gallman. They won the 2023 SCGA Players 4-Ball Championship, 66-64 in the final round. And listen to this, finishing in a tie for second. You want to hear some golf names in the state. Robbie Beershank and Nick Beershank were playing together. And Levi Joyner and P.J. Jacobs also tied for second. So, hey, a lot of really good golf names and a lot of good players in that little set I just mentioned, George.
Oh, absolutely. Beershank. I recall playing with Tommy Beershank in the 1982 State Amateur at Chanticleer that Dillard Pruitt won. And so Beershank's one of the leading names. Tommy played on the PGA Tour for quite a while, and it's a great golf family. You mentioned Ezel. Oh, my goodness. Dominated Beershanks, Ezel, dominated news and golf. Who else do you mention there?
Josh Gallman was a part of the team with Daniel.
Yeah, Josh Gallman. I guess he's somewhere in the neighborhood of my two sons in that 35-year-old age, and he must have gotten his amateur status back. He's one of those that played such good in pro golf. I thought he was going to go ahead and I thought he'd be a tour player. He's a great player, fine young man too. We got not just amateur, some of the best amateurs in the whole country, and we've had several of them on the show, including Sam Jackson, 2022 Player of the Year, South Carolina Amateur Player of the Year. I guess Sam. Oh, you know what? Oh, shame on me. I haven't kept up with how he's doing in the mid-am. That's just what I call. I snap hooking it. That could be hitting it OB. That's an out of bounds. I might have to re-tee. I apologize, Sam. We're going to check that out. Can't do it tonight, but we'll re-tee on that one. Hey, remember we talked? I did a little research on that Solheim Cup. Got caught. They're going to play next week in Spain. Following week, the Ryder Cup will be in Rome. And kind of interesting lot going on in golf right now. That we talked about it. We talked about the Ryder Cup, the captain's pick. Before we get too carried away, I think there was another. We were going to take off, and you got some maybe college women's golf to talk about. I know Yeamans Hall hosted the Cougar Classic, and Jamie Futrell down there, the College of Charleston women's golf coach, always does such a great job hosting events, and Ole Miss won that one. I think you were going to talk some more college women's golf also, right?
Yeah, I've got a note here for you. The South Carolina women won the Annika Intercollegiate, and that took place up in Minnesota, Lake Elmo, and they played that the 11th through the 13th. They already wrapped it up. South Carolina as a team, 26 under, final round, 5 under as a team. So South Carolina, no surprise, right? But South Carolina defeated Oregon, Wake Forest. So some big names in women's golf there at the Annika, and South Carolina took the crown.
And while that was going on way up north at Yeamans Hall, the Cougars Classic, Clemson played really well. In fact, I'm trying to pull up the results. This Clemson finished third, and Savannah Grewell, she tied for first with Ingrid Lindblad, but I'm not sure. I don't know if they played it off or not. I'm not showing on my results they've gone back and forth over the years. Most of the time, they do not play it off. But either way, that's a win for a Clemson Tiger. And then, like I mentioned, Clemson finished third in the team. Ole Miss won the event, just ran away with it. 36 under par, got a 5-shot victory. Unbelievable. Well, congratulations.
George, I do have that note. So, yes, Savannah Gruel did share, you're right, they don't play it off for the individual co-medalist honors with LSU's Ingrid Lindblad, who you might know because she's the world amateur #1. So that is really impressive, an impressive showing from Gruel.
U.S. Women's Amateur Champ from 2021, Jensen Castle, who is from right here in Columbia. She finished 20th in the event at the Cougar Classic. And I tell you right now, last couple of years, 2016, my daughter graduated from College of Charleston, so watched it for 4 years, and a little bit of couple of years went by and didn't see much, but a lot happened. A lot of skill. It is a lot of fun to watch women's golf. The touch, the tempo, the spirit. In my opinion, now this is just my opinion, the women tend to have more fun playing the game. Guys are so daggum serious. The girls treat it a little bit more like a game, and I'd say the comparison is kind of simple. It's easy to see fun. Guys get real tight, serious. Got some edge going. The girls, they seem to smile more. Both of them, are enjoying it. But I tell you, the biggest difference from 2016 to where I picked it back up 2020 is club speed. There's a lot more speed in women's golf than most people would think. And I think the overall skill level has increased significantly. I'm not sure about the Solheim Cup. I haven't kept up. I am Rose Zhang, who dominated amateur and college golf. She was a captain's pick, no surprise. And, that'll be fun to keep up with next week. So, hey, while we're on the topic of girls golf, last week we pointed out the #1 team in 5A high school golf, Chapin. Dorman's #2, Wando's #3. I got a little feedback not mentioning first, second, and third at 4A. May River #1, AC Floors #2, South Aiken #3. I'm going to go ahead and this is a coaches polls for state high school golf. Go ahead and Hilton Head in 4A is #4, North Myrtle Beach #5, Pickens 6, West Florence 7, Aiken 8, Catawba Ridge 9, and Greenville 10 and 3A, 2A, 1A. I got them combined. Chesney 1, Waccamaw, and Seneca is 2 and 3. So there you have it. And one of the things that we got a pretty solid standard for high school golf and women's. Roger Smith is one of the founding members of the women's high school golf, and he's a great administrator at River Bluff. I think River Bluff, Chapin's 1 in 5A. River Bluff is #6, while Chapin's 1, Dorman's 2, Wando 3, Lexington Wildcats 4. River Bluff is Teal-Hanna 5, River Bluff 6. I did get a chance to speak with Coach Smith, Brandon Smith. That would be of Lexington. He sent me an email, gave me a little update, and let me see. They won the Bingle Invitational in the very beginning. I'm talking about Lexington Wildcats. I think they have somewhere between 30 and 40 state high school championships over the last 10 years. I'm exaggerating. They won, it seems, every year, the South Carolina State High School Championship. They finished 4th at the Blue Jacket, 3rd at the Palmetto Preview, and Karen Smoke is leading that team. She's averaging about 76, says Coach Brandon Smith. And I'm open. You send me an email at TsunamiBarSports.com, and I'd love to talk about women's or girls State High School golf. And speaking of Tsunami Bar Sports, Tsunami Robbie, talk a little bit about what's going on, not just with the technology, but the golf frontier that's kicking off this fall.
Yes, sir. Things are getting close, G3. They are getting close, and you've seen it. I'm sitting in it right now. I'm in the simulator room trying to catch my breath after pushing that prowler around, and the simulator setup that we've got is going to be premium with the 4K projector and the software that we teamed up with True Golf. And so that's going to be available for play and teaching. And I know that you've got some plans and ideas on how to incorporate the simulator aspect of teaching to have it translate to the real grass when you get out there and play. We've got a putting green, 900 square foot putting green with fringe around it so you can chip and putt on the property. We've got 6 holes that are 97% ready. We just got to sand them down a little bit more. That's on the short game, the scramble course. And that you played it, I've played it. It's, you think an 18-yard shot might not be so hard. Well, you're going to find out it's a little more difficult than you think. And it goes all the way up to 37 or so yards on a particular hole. But you've got to be accurate. You've got to have your launch angle right to be able to hold the green. And then you've got to make a putt or a chip if you're just off the green. So we've got lots of things going on in the golf area. And I'm looking forward to the opening when it gets started. And this is going to be, what do you think? 4 weeks away, 5 weeks maybe tops?
I think you're about right. And one of the things where the Tsunami Bar Sports is trying to bring to the forefront is where the actual Tsunami Bar technology fits in. So there's absolutely no question when it comes to just a safe, what I call a friendly for a golf swing technology. It's the friendliest technology out there, but it also could be the most effective. The players, not just long drive, but also have a few players using it on the tour, number of college and high school athletes, the development of club speed, but also the motor pattern. It contributes wonderfully to both sides, speed and accuracy. And the biggest benefit is the way that it treats that muscle fiber. It's friendly. It doesn't cause as much abrasive tearing, which equates to soreness. When you get sore, you get stiff and you lose the elasticity. The Tsunami Bar technology seems to be friendlier, Tsunami Robbie. And but through speed's not the only part of the game. Feel and touch. And the Tsunami Bar technology has tremendous influence on feel and touch with the wedges. And so here comes the scramble where tiny, small swings requiring feel and touch does tie into the big, fast swing. In fact, Harvey Pinnock said, a drive is just a chip and a chip is just a drive. So we'll bring golf fitness into the light right there at 720 Chris Drive. And in addition to having the scramble there for short shots, we'll also have the simulator where we go through speed protocols, also combines. So there'll be a combination of speed and feel and touch. So speak a little bit about where the technology and why the technology is so friendly to that muscle fiber, Tsunami Robbie.
Yeah, I've been using this technology almost exclusively for 7 years now, maybe, something like that. And I kind of came to it through injury. I worked with the 45-pound standard steel Olympic bars forever and a day. And I came to a point where I needed some kind of relief due to the accumulation of injury, abrasive wear and tear that the traditional type of weight training can give you. And once I picked up, and I was working with the company at the time developing some of the products, but I hadn't used it extensively. I just kind of had it in a niche for speed and explosive movement. But once I applied my entire program to the technology, that just opened up a world of training options that were not available to me before. And physically, I started to feel better. My elbows, shoulders, knees, hips, back, everything that was sore, constantly sore, and beat down from the standard wear and tear from traditional training was being alleviated because of the technology. And you touched on it, how it's just physically and more friendly. You can use it as intensely as you like, and you're still not going to get the breakdown muscularly and skeletally that you would with the standard steel training devices that we've used in the past. And then we've broken that down into a much smaller devices like the multi-stick plus, the Laginator, the multi-stick Magnum. These are just straight sticks that have flexibility and resistance and with applied weight. And they're soft weights. They only weigh a half pound each, and you can put 2 to 4 on a particular bar to get the speed and resistance and the deflection out of the bar that you like. And you can get muscular recruitment. You can get blood flow. You can get explosive power and speed all in the same movement, and without the residual soreness that you might get through traditional training. So it's been very beneficial athletically for all of our football programs, baseball, softball, soccer, you name it. Everything that we've used it in the high school and collegiate leagues, and even professional. And I'll talk about Nick Chubb, who's a leading running back in the NFL. He uses the equipment. So it's proven itself, and everybody. It's just one of those well kept secrets. Everybody's going to find out about it, and it's going to revolutionize the industry.
Well, that is spectacular. Appreciate that update. And I understand Patrick has picked me up. I almost snap hooked it.
I got your back, George.
Yeah. Hey, I like it. I love a save. This is a bullpen save, and my little something happened. It just popped up on my phone, so we're gonna mix it up about that mid-am. In fact, some good news. I think even though Sam Jackson didn't make it,
he came close.
Go ahead and talk. Bring us up to speed.
So he had a heck of a showing. So that was being played at Sleepy Hollow Country Club up in Scarborough, New York. And Sam Jackson, a West Columbia native, and it looks like he played his home course is the Country Club of Lexington. He went to Peeling High School, then played college golf at Presbyterian College. He lost to the eventual champion, Stuart Hagestad. Hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Lost by 1. So Hagestad won 1 up. So I guess it came right down to the wire there in the semifinals. And then Hagestad ultimately beat Evan Beck in the finals of Virginia Beach. But still, a West Columbia native here. Big shout out to you, Sam Jackson. Incredibly good performance by you. We're all proud of you here. He made it all the way to the semifinals. Then on the women's side, the highest result here that I'm seeing from our state was Juliana Hodges out of Fort Mill, South Carolina. She lost 4-3 to Judith Kirinis out of Canada, and that was in the round of 32. But that is still quite an exceptional performance by Juliana as well on the women's side, and that was at the Stonewall course up in Elverson, Pennsylvania.
Hey, that's awesome. We've had Sam on the show several times. He and let's see, he's won so much, it's hard to keep track. Zach Harrell recently won the Picard Cup up in Cleveland at Canterbury, and we had him on the show to talk about how well he's played. He teamed with Jordan Cease to win the mid-amateur 4-ball back in the earlier spring, and he's just had success at every level, and it is fun. I do want to recognize another local who is in second place on the Korn Ferry event, and cardboard. Scott Stevens is in second place right now, and we've had him on the show. Wow. He is in second place, and he needs a strong finish to maintain. To get back. He's a rookie. He is a rookie on the Korn Ferry Tour, and Scott Stevens, former USC Gamecock, he is at one shot back at 9 under. And Cardboard's been on the show a couple of times, so we're pulling for him. And then I just I was kind of watching. Wesley missed the cut by a shot. Bogeyed the last hole. Duty.
That's tough. And George, just to add real quick, too, I am now finally seeing the actual scorecard here. Sam Jackson, that came down all the way to the 18th hole. It looks like very similar to your son. He had an unfortunate bogey on a par 4 18th that Stewart on the other side, who beat him, parred. So It did come down to the final hole.
The game, overall, it never was designed to be fair. It's not fair. Most people think somehow it should be. And the way I look at it, it's pretty hard. You get up underneath it, dig around, scratch around for whatever you can, appreciate the good ones, and learn to deal with the rough ones. And it was tough watching Wesley just make a bogey on the last hole because he was way out. He was in 132 starting the day and clawed it back, birdied 17, his 17th hole to be on the cut line, and made bogey on the last. That's what brings you back, though, right, Tsunami Robbie? That's what makes you push that prowler around.
That's exactly right. That's a little bit of that defeat will light your fire and push you a little bit harder and stronger. You learn from it, keep going, and always give your best effort and go get them next time.
Fellas, I think we're getting close to the end, and appreciate you picking me up. That's always nice when the bullpen comes in, and it wasn't a double bogey snap hook out of bounds. We found the ball and actually made par. A little bit like Max Homa. Max Homa hit it right through a tree just now. Didn't touch a thing, and made par. Holly probably could have made triple. Anyway, I hear my music.
Yep.
And Tsunami Robin, Patrick, Smitty, Team High, and until next week, shoot 'em low.
Love it. Thank you so much, George. Thank you to Tsunami Robbie. Check out Tsunami Bar Sports for more, and you check out the high school scoreboard at 10:05 on these same stations.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.